He slapped me. Right there, in the middle of our wedding. The music stopped mid-note. The laughter froze. His handprint burned across my cheek like a seal of humiliation. His sister, Claire, stood beside him, her lips still twisted from whatever venom she'd just whispered into his ear. For a heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. Everyone was watching. Our families, the photographers, the guests holding half-filled champagne glasses in stunned silence. And yet, I didn't cry. I just looked at him, straight in the eyes, calm, unblinking. Then I smiled. That was the moment everything changed. Not for me, but for him. Ethan was the kind of man people trusted too easily, charming, polished. The kind who could convince you that the world revolved around his promises. I met him 3 years ago at a charity gala. He laughed too loud, spoke too smoothly, and yet I mistook arrogance for confidence. I was young enough to believe love could civilize ambition. He said I made him better, that I grounded him. What I didn't realize was that I was his project, his proof of control. And his sister, Claire, was the architect behind his mask. She smiled at me like a sister, but her eyes scanned me like an opponent. The night before the wedding, she hugged me and whispered, "You're lucky. Not many get to see his real face before it's too late." I thought she was just being cruel. I didn't know she meant it literally. It started with whispers. Half conversations cut short when I entered the room. His phone turned face down. Business trips that didn't make sense. Then the evidence, a message thread I wasn't meant to see. Claire had been sending him pictures of me, photos from my old social accounts, even private ones, and beneath them, captions. "She's lying to you." She told him I'd been using him for money, that I was after his inheritance, that I'd been sleeping with someone else. The betrayal wasn't just his, it was shared, layered, orchestrated. When I confronted him, he said, "Claire showed me proof." Proof! Screenshots, doctored, fabricated, weaponized. I should have walked away then, but I didn't, because I don't run. That night I stayed awake, calm, steady, hollow. I went through everything, every document, every message, every account tied to his name. Ethan liked control, but he was careless with his digital secrets. In the weeks before the wedding, while he thought I was planning floral arrangements and seating charts, I was mapping his financial life. His offshore accounts, business ventures, even the quiet investments in Claire's name. I didn't want revenge, not at first. I wanted truth. But truth means nothing to people who build empires on lies. So I became the lie they couldn't control. 2 days before the wedding, I met with his company's CFO, a man who owed me a favor from long before Ethan came into my life. We adjusted some account access, shifted some ownership stakes, quietly restructured a few legal loopholes in ways Ethan wouldn't notice. Then I sent Claire a message from an anonymous number. "You were right about her. Watch closely at the wedding." I knew she couldn't resist twisting the knife, and I was counting on it. When he slapped me in front of everyone, he sealed his own destruction. Because the moment his hand met my skin, 1,000 cameras flashed. Journalists, influencers, guests. It wasn't just a slap, it was evidence. I looked up at him, smiled through the pain, and whispered, loud enough for the nearest microphones to catch, "Thank you for showing them who you really are." And then I walked away. By morning, the story was everywhere. CEO assaults bride at his own wedding. Family empire crumbles under scandal. Investors withdrew. Sponsors backed out. His board suspended him within 48 hours. And when they went digging, as I knew they would, they found the financial discrepancies I'd so carefully arranged, all under his name. Claire tried to clean it up, but I'd made sure her fingerprints were on every transfer. The world watched as they turned on each other. Siblings, partners in deception, devouring themselves in panic. I didn't hide. I didn't need to. I met every reporter who reached out, calm and poised, telling them the truth, or at least my version of it. Victim, survivor, the woman who stood tall in humiliation. But the real satisfaction wasn't the sympathy. It was silence. The kind that follows when your enemies finally understand how deeply you saw them before they saw you. I never wanted to destroy Ethan. I only wanted to free myself. But freedom demands sacrifice, and his empire was the price. When I look at the scarlet mark in the old wedding photos, his handprint frozen forever, I don't see pain anymore. I see proof that some masks don't fall. You rip them off.